Welcome to Crossroad Connection. We're speaking out for those left unheard. My name is David Scheringa. I'm the president of Crossroad Bible Institute and the host of your program. I have an exciting guest and good friend in the studio with me today. It's Karen Swanson, Dr. Karen Swanson from the what is the exact name? Billy Graham Center for Prison Ministry.
Institute for Prison Ministries at Wheaton College.
At Wheaton College. They'll get it right on the screen, but that's a very complicated.
Yes, it is.
Okay. But it's the Billy Graham Prison Ministry at Wheaton College, something like that.
Right.
For short. And welcome to the program.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes, you were here about, a couple of years ago, I guess, on our radio program.
Right, yep.
And so it's good to have you back again. You happen to be in the area doing some speaking.
Right.
In fact, you're doing some speaking with our friend Mark Vandermeer.
Yes.
Over at New Communities. He's been on the show a few times.
And
they've got wonderful programs going there in terms of recovery and so forth.
Right.
Why don't we just review a little bit of stuff, the things that you're involved in. Tell our folks about the Billy Graham Center for Prison Ministry at Wheaton.
Sure. Yeah, the Institute for Prison Ministries is a training and resource center for people who are called to serve in correctional ministries, and we provide some college-accredited courses through Wheaton College.
Through Wheaton College, you have that capability.
Right, and then we have some training, volunteer training and mentor training that we do with volunteers. And then I go to different prisons around the U.S. and teach the inmates how to share Christ through relationship-style evangelism. So that's empowering them, the church on the inside, to do the work of the church.
You are an educator. I think
yes.
Your doctorate is in education, if I recall.
Right.
And so it comes quite naturally to you to educate the church, educate leaders, educate people in prison,
right,
and to do these kinds of practical trainings, as well as them to get to understand the position and the possibilities better, huh?
Right. Absolutely.
Something that's been important to you that our viewers, I think, would probably not think of right away, and that is, you think it'd be a good idea for people in prison ministry to get credentialed in some way, right?
Well, I definitely think there should be some accountability and some training. So,
because a lot of people that are involved in prison ministry, they just kind of go out there and do it, right?
Right.
And thankfully, they do that.
Yes.
But
right.
But how can they be more effective, do you think, if they get some sort of credentialed training, from say you or something?
Right. Well, I think that having quality training would just increase their effectiveness and help us to be better stewards of what God has called us to do. I mean, it's just like going to a mission field. You don't want to just show up in another country and without knowing the language and the culture. And it's different when you go into a prison or work with.
It is a cross-cultural experience.
It's a cross-cultural experience.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Just
right.
like going on a mission trip in another country.
Right. Yeah. So I think training is extremely helpful, as well as being accountable to a local church, and or getting credentialed by an agency or organization that has some credibility.
And so if we have people that are watching that are in prison ministry or something like that, and they want their ministry to get involved with this, they can contact you at the website, right? And find courses or seminars. You could probably come in for an evening, for a day, for a week, and then just to help them to be more effective, so they don't have to learn everything by trial and error, right?
Right, exactly, right.
And it is true. I mean, I've been in this ministry for 15 years here, and longer than that in prison ministry. There are a lot of peculiarities and distinctives about prison ministry that you don't know unless you've gotten some training or some experience.
Right, and there's always new things to learn. You know, just like even with women have different needs than men, and now there's more and more research to tell how to best come alongside them. Yeah,
that's for sure. Women have different perspectives on things. They think about their families in different ways. Their relationships in the prisons are different, and all the rest.
Right.
Why is it called a Billy Graham Institute for Prison Ministry?
Sure. The Billy Graham Center was dedicated by Billy Graham and named after him, and it's to be a place that accelerates global evangelism. Okay,
and that's the overarching.
That's the overarching, picture. Right? And so we're just one institute within that center. So there's several other ministries.
Yeah,
So-
right. I've been there, and it's a beautiful building, and there's a nice little museum
Right.
for Dr. Graham there, and so people can come and meet you and all kinds of other people that are ministering in that building, right?
Right.
Now, you're quite an entrepreneurial person, and you actually have been very instrumental in the starting of a new correctional ministry association. We call it CMCA. What does that stand for?
Correctional Ministries and Chaplains Association.
Right, and this goes along with your idea of accountability and training and so forth.
Right.
This is an evangelical, nationwide, international,
Right.
perhaps eventually, of prison ministries that can all come together,
Right.
and chaplains who work in prison ministry to encourage each other. To what's the purpose of it?
Well, part of it is to connect with one another, the whole network, and we need each other. This is a huge ministry. Nobody can do it alone, as well as there's so many times we're working in silos, and this is an opportunity to collaborate and work with others, as well as to receive some training and encouragement within this. This is a very specialized field of ministry, and so we want to bring together everyone: reentry specialists, chaplains, volunteers, so that everyone's connecting together.
CMCA, the plan is to have at least an annual conference.
Right.
They had the first one this past summer.
Right.
It was at Wheaton College.
Right.
How many people attended?
There were 385 attended.
Not bad for a first time.
Right, and I can't remember how many different states were represented, and we had 4 different countries represented.
And we had plenary sessions,
Right.
worship sessions, and how many workshops were offered?
There are 40 different workshops offered.
And so these are workshops, sort of like a buffet
Right.
for people in prison ministry to come and say, "Oh, I want to know more about this. I want to know more about that."
Right.
So it's sort of a can't miss event already, hasn't it?
Yeah, right.
When's the next one going to be next spring?
The next one is going to be in May. So it'll be 29th, 30th, 31st of May.
The 29th, 30th, 31st of May, and people can go to cmca.org. And
CCAInternational.org.
CMCAInternational.org.
Right.
Or I suppose they can go to your website or my website and find their way over there, get more information on last year's, how to get involved in this year's.
Right.
You got any big speakers lined up yet for the next one?
We're still working on getting those plenary speakers, and the workshop proposals are coming in, so we'll be selecting those. The committee selects those that oversees the summit. So
we were thinking of at Crossroad of submitting a workshop where we can actually have a training for instructors, something that would be interesting for people, you think?
Sure, absolutely. And it'd be a way to recruit new instructors as well.
Yeah, exactly.
To let people know another way to get involved.
So they can disciple prisoners in that particular way.
Right.
Well, the CMCA, I guess in full disclosure, I'm on the board, and so are you.
Right.
And stuff, but we don't have stock in the company or something.
Nope, we're not getting any pay.
We're not getting paid for it,
Right.
But it's been a labor of love. Tell us quickly about the new executive director we just hired.
Right. Richard Barnhart is the executive director, and he comes with a lot of experience working in corrections and consulting, and is just taking CMCA to a whole new level. And we're really excited to have him.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, very, very capable, and we're sure he's going to be able to bring it to the next level. But I have to say, it wouldn't be where it's at without you.
Well, thank you. I know there's a lot of people that have put a lot into this.
Well, you had the dream, you had the vision, and did a lot of and still do a lot of the nuts and bolts on the ground work of it. But I hope that you realize how much you're doing for the kingdom of God and how much we appreciate it.
Well, thanks. It's all for the kingdom. Absolutely.
Let's talk about Karen Swanson personally.
Sure.
How did you get involved with prison ministry?
I started volunteering at Cook County Jail in the Men's Maximum Security Division in a faith-based program. And I went because I was going with a friend who was teaching, and she was afraid to drive down there by herself.
So she dragged you along?
She dragged me along, and that one visit changed my career and my life.
Boy, it seems, everybody seems to have that kind of story. I too, my students, in California dragged me into prison, and I still remember that first time meeting those men, the doors clanging, of course, behind you, and just sensing that these are the people Jesus would hang out to. But it seems like almost everybody in prison ministry has this kind of conversion experience.
Right there, you get hooked.
They can point to the day and the time,
Right, exactly.
When they got converted to prison ministry.
Yeah, and people typically tend to be very committed. That are called.
Yeah, it is fascinating. I was doing a Chicagoland CBI instructor rally yesterday, and a woman came up to me who said, "Dr. Schuringer, being a CBI instructor is addicting." In a way, prison ministry is addicting.
Right.
Does that make sense? In a good sense, you just get hooked on making disciples. You get hooked on the effect that it has on you, huh?
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, how has prison ministry changed you or strengthened your faith?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Just their receptiveness to the gospel and to God changing their lives, and I've learned so much from people who've been incarcerated, just their walk of faith and humbleness and willingness to repent and change.
What is the, from your experience, because you go inside a lot, and so you have these frank conversations and teaching times, what's the biggest challenge that a person in prison faces?
I think probably for both men and women, it'd just be the loneliness and the separation from the family.
Okay.
That I think
just
that
because
would
there's
be
1,500 more people in the building does not make them feel like part of a community.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
they're cut off.
Right.
They feel alone.
Yeah.
And I know that's true from so many interviews and so forth that even family and friends, after a while, start to move on, don't they?
Right.
And
right. Seems like mom's the
hurt.
last one. She'll hang on the longest, and then,
People in the church, I think Mark has said that, that's why their church is making a special effort because, people kind of forget, they kind of move on. And that also creates problems for when they get out, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, if there's no relationship, then it's much harder to make that transition.
What percentage of people in prison have recovery issues?
Boy, women probably at least 80%. Something like
drugs,
that.
alcohol.
Right. Yeah.
And probably men the same thing.
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah.
And having a high percentage of people in prison also committed their crimes when under the influence or connected or it's a drug related or something like that sort of thing. So
it's a big piece of that healing.
Right. And so that's another big issue inside and outside in terms of addictions and so forth. Huh?
Right, absolutely.
And addictions, of course, affect their relationship with others. And everything gets compounded, huh?
Yeah, it's all intertwined.
Right,
yeah.
right. So what have you found, what do you think is the most important thing for a person in prison to accomplish?
I think they have to remember that reentry begins that first day that they're arrested, and that they have an opportunity then to change and to make positive changes in their life so that when they do step out, it's not the same person that went in.
So you're saying that the most important thing for them is to be intentional about the reentry from the first day that they get on the yard.
Right.
They should not be wasting their time. They should be involved in Bible study. They should be trying to build their skills, get their GED, whatever it takes to make them a more effective and a better person so they can make better choices.
Right, right. I mean, obviously, hopefully, and you hear a lot of men and women say, this was a good thing for them to be incarcerated because it allowed God, for them to stop to hear God speak in their life as well.
Right.
So, and to develop that relationship, which is obviously the key.
Being in prison is a crisis.
Absolutely.
And it's a faith crisis. It's it's huge for people. You had a crisis.
Right.
In your life. You had cancer.
Right. Twice.
You had cancer twice.
Yeah.
And prior to that, you lost your husband.
Right. Well, after one of the cancers, I lost my husband. He also had cancer.
He also had cancer.
Right.
And this other cancer was not that long ago.
Right, 2010.
2010. So now you've had a little bit of time to recover emotionally from it, but still it's only 3 years.
Right.
But you had it before. You went through it with your husband.
Right.
Well, what does this do in the formation of faith?
Sure. I think, trials come our way to test our faith, to see, is it real? God knows if it's real, but it helps us to say, yeah, I'm going to continue to walk with God no matter what life throws at us. And so staying faithful to God and Him, sharpening our faith and maturing our faith is often done through trials. So that's how I see the cancer is just a part of life and a part of refining my faith.
Now, refining is like we talk about refiner's fire. Did you know the old saints that they talk about a dark night of the soul? Did you
Right.
experience any dark night of the soul experience?
I didn't. I think probably because I had such great support from the body of Christ. The people around me, my church community, they were there, and they journeyed with me through that time. So I don't know that I really felt that dark night of the soul.
Okay, and that's a wonderful thing.
It is, yeah.
How do you, after coming through this experience, and we got to close off here, I hope you don't mind me penetrating a little
this
bit,
is fine.
Because I think it's similar to what prisoners go through and their families, and the different kinds of crises and so forth. Somebody's watching right now who's been diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
What do you say? Buck up and make your faith stronger?
No, I think, everybody is a little different in how they handle it. And, but I think, it does cause you to ask questions and to seek things out. But I guess just, it comes down to, do you trust God and do you trust that He loves you more than you can imagine and that He's wise? So coming back to truth and not always going on feelings, and, that I just encourage them to be in the truth, in the Word.
And it's the same Christian faith that we hold out to people in prison.
Right, absolutely.
So they can make it through, so they can and be successful in their reentry.
Right.
And through the Billy Graham Institute for Prison Ministry, through CMCA, people involved in prison ministry can help prisoners on that journey.
Absolutely.
Am I right?
Yes, absolutely. You bet. Wherever God calls them to serve. Yep.
All right. Well, Karen, thank you very much. This has been very inspirational.
Well,
and
thank you for having me.
I think informative.
Okay.
Thank you for watching today's special edition of Crossroad Connection with Dr. Karen Swanson. Look on the websites. You can get more information to get involved, get more information to help others who are in need. My name is David Schuringa, and I hope to see you again right here next week.